Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. An ex-parte injunction served on talk show host in St. Kitts and Nevis. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 18th January 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. In St. Kitts and Nevis, Liberd received an ex-parte injunction filed on behalf of Garth Wilkin, the current Attorney General of St. Kitts and Nevis. Glenn Bart of SK Newsline reports.
A planned topic for the 12th January talk show Straight Talk was abandoned after its host Ian Patches Liberd received an ex-parte injunction filed on behalf of Garth Wilkin, the current Attorney General of St. Kitts and Nevis. According to a Facebook post, Mr. Wilkin wrote that stories circulating on some social media platforms are, quote, lies and falsehoods, unquote, and explained why the injunction was sought against Mr. Liberd. He wrote, quote, today, attorneys acting on my personal behalf applied for and obtained an ex-parte injunction preventing Ian Patches Liberd and persons acting on his behalf from repeating such defamatory stories about me on his social media show, which they intend to do tonight. I intend to pursue this matter to its conclusion, and I have instructed my attorneys to file a claim in the High Court seeking aggravated and compensatory damages for defamation in relation to this and other libelous statements which he has made about me over the past few months, end quote. Mr. Liberd confirmed on Straight Talk that he had received the injunction and, as a consequence, was forced to change the topic of the Thursday night talk show.
You will recognize that my caption for tonight has changed. My caption tonight has been forcibly changed, I may add. It has been changed to protection of freedom of expression. My Straight Talk family, this afternoon, I was served with an ex-parte injunction filed at the instance of one Garth Lucien Wilkin. But my Straight Talk family, I want to inform you that my lawyer will deal with that injunction. I must inform you as well, my Straight Talk family, that my lawyer has assured me that he will deal with that injunction at the earliest opportunity.
Mr. Wilkin indicated also on his Facebook post that he will add other people as defendants who have circulated or otherwise published information he described as, quote, hopeless and, quote, blatant lies. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
There was a police-involved shooting in Grand Bahama. More in this ZNS News item.
2 females injured following a police-involved shooting over in Grand Bahama this morning. One of the women, a 22-year-old Jonestown 8 Mile Rock resident, remains in hospital after being shot by police. The incident reportedly occurred shortly before 2 a.m. in the area of the Mall Drive, Freeport. According to reports, officers attached to Operation Restoration were on a routine patrol in the area of a local nightclub when they observed a red-colored Nissan Sentra occupied by a male and 3 females. As the officers approached the vehicle, they observed the driver, who is known to police, with a firearm and ordered him from the vehicle. However, the driver, who is presently being electronically monitored and on bail for attempted murder, refused to stop, almost running over the officers. In fear for their lives, the officers opened fire on the vehicle as the driver sped away. In the driver's bid to flee from police, he lost control of the vehicle, leading to it overturning at the junction of East Sunrise Highway and East Atlantic Drive. The vehicle was extensively damaged and resulted in a 27-year-old female of Pinedale receiving serious injuries. She was taken to the Brand Memorial Hospital for initial medical assistance and will be airlifted to New Providence for further medical attention. Meantime, the 27-year-old driver of the Frobisher Drive who breached his conditions of bail was able to make good his escape. However, police arrested him a short time later at his residence. The third female involved was also taken to hospital where she was treated and discharged. Police investigations continue.
We turn our attention now to Jamaica, where Javon Keys tells us, before Janella Precious gives details, that the cabinet will review sentencing guidelines with the likelihood of stiffer penalties to be imposed. Details in this TVJ News item.
Cabinet is to begin discussions on the proposed legislative changes which could see the increase in penalties for offences such as murder. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the revelation while addressing an East Central St. James Education fundraising dinner last evening. The details in this report.
2022 saw the passage of the new Firearms Act, and if the Andrew Holness-led government has its way, 2023 will see other legislative changes which will see stiffer penalties for people who commit serious crimes. He'd already hinted that the sentencing guidelines for murder needed to be reviewed. Well, these discussions are set to begin Monday.
Whilst we have not yet finalized the proposals, we hope to do so on Monday when we meet at Cabinet. But it will look something like this. For capital murder, the penalty is death. If not applied, then life without parole.
On the issue of the death penalty, it has been on the books, but the last execution in Jamaica took place in 1988. Since then, there's been an ongoing debate about whether more murder convicts should face the gallows. For the Prime Minister,
while there are many issues around the death penalty and how it is used, there should be no issue around the incarceration of someone who deliberately, willfully, repeatedly takes life. Our penalty system must reflect our value system. And in our civilization, in our society, we all value life.
For non-capital murder, the proposed sentence is 45 years to life. Mr. Holness also sought to justify why the changes were needed.
There is no question that somewhere over these many years, murderers have gotten it into their minds that the penalty for murder is not the death penalty. They have gotten it into their minds that the penalty for murder is not life imprisonment. And that somehow, with a good lawyer, they will be back out on the street to enjoy their life. Our penalty remains. If you take a life and you're convicted of such, your useful life should be taken.
The Prime Minister appears hopeful that the changes will send a strong signal to criminals. Janella Precious, TVJ News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Usain Bolt and business manager Parte Company. TVJ News filed this report.
Now, highly placed sources are indicating that Usain Bolt has sacked his longtime business manager Norman Peart. When contacted on Sunday afternoon, Peart, who was with Bolt since he broke on the scene as a teenager in 2002, told TVJ Sports that he and the 8-time Olympic gold medalist had, quote, parted company amicably in late 2022, end quote. Neither World 100 and 200-meter world record holder Bolt nor his executive manager Nugent Walker could be reached for comment on the matter. Meanwhile, news broke last week that a former manager at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, had fleeced millions of US dollars from Bolt's portfolio. The former SSL manager, who has been fired, confessed in a statement to the SSL on January 7 that she also took money from close to 40 other investors. In that statement, Peart is listed among those investors defrauded. The SSL matter is being investigated by the Fraud Squad, the Financial Investigation Division, and the Financial Services Division. There has been no arrest to date.
In the meantime, Jamaica's opposition spokesman on national security, Peter Bunting, is again expressing displeasure with the government's crime-fighting strategies. Details in this CVM Live news report.
More can be done. Still looking back at 2022, opposition spokesman on national security Peter Bunting says the decrease in murders from September to December had nothing to do with states of public emergency. Instead, he credits Operation Relentless 2 and the 500 new recruits who were placed in hotspots across troubled areas during that time.
What we need is more boots on the ground. The JCF, and I've made this point at CMOC and publicly, has vacancies for about 2,000 additional regular officers within the current establishment. And ideally, once you fill that, you probably want to run another 1,000 or 2,000 more.
Bunting says similar strategies will continue to yield results in the effort to fight crime. But he says the government's crime-fighting strategies overall have been unsuccessful. Noting the increase in resources at their disposal, he indicates they have failed to produce positive results.
They have more resources available to them than any other commissioner and minister of national security. You've had the most road traffic deaths, I think, in history. 3 or 4 years after launching this public safety and traffic enforcement grant with great fanfare. Again, more cars, more motorbikes, etc. than any other minister and commissioner.
Bunting suggests more focus on the development of intelligence and investigative capabilities of the force. Straying from crime control measures, he says it is also important to increase crime prevention techniques.
We need social investment, particularly in the communities where we have the biggest problems with crime. Those are the same communities where we need better schools, where we have the so-called failing schools. The same communities where we need better housing infrastructure. The same communities where you often have untreated sewage bubbling over out of the manholes in the streets. The same communities where garbage isn't collected on a regular basis.
He says this will require a more holistic approach, including investment in social workers to intervene in the cycle of crime. Nasika Aliman reporting for CVM Live.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.